This is the extended version of part 1 of Cooking with Cannabis, which is honestly my favorite one anyway. But if you're looking for the shorter version, check out our Cooking with Cannabis part 1 standard cut. Otherwise, thanks and enjoy Cooking with Cannabis part 1 of 2, the extended cut.
Using nitrous, you can force infuse anything.
What would be the step-by-step process?
First you buy an S10 and then you drop it. You have some wheelie bars in the back and then you turn the nitrous on.
Fucking wheelie.
You know what? You need a spoiler too.
Not a
spoiler.
Welcome back to Arsenic Culture. I am Matt.
And I'm Jason.
And we have was that a question?
It was a question. I've been watching football. I'm trying to get those like pro football things down.
Jason?
I'm gonna come up with better ones.
Okay, sounds good. We have our good buddy Pierre Swain back with us.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
I say back with us because you have actually been here before.
Yeah.
And we did a whole, I think we did
Two
we do 2
episodes.
We did
We
two
did two
episodes.
episodes.
with
They were
Pierre.
great. They were great.
And we lost both those episodes along with like 3 other ones because we had audio issues, but we've graduated our
Not
audio,
anymore.
I
We got
think.
these little things
I know,
right here.
The
We're
little
good.
things,
We're good.
yeah.
We're professional now.
Pierre cooked us a full meal last time.
Yeah,
Like it
Pierre
was,
actually
it was
made a
legit.
full meal. So Pierre is a sous chef over Mittens.
Yes,
and he
sir.
brings like an air fryer, and he's all like, you were decked up like
I
in
was,
work
I
gear and
was.
everything. You have your, I've almost called it a kimono. What is
Chef's
it?
jacket.
Chef's jacket.
Yeah, the gi. He was wearing his like chef's gi, and he was like just like cooking over here on the side, and me and Jason are just like looking at our phones and being like, we didn't bring anything, man. Like he came prepared. So man, we appreciate you doing that. We brought you back.
course.
I was like, leave the cookware at home, just try to make it a little bit easier for you. But thank you for coming back again and redoing this with us.
Yeah, man, my pleasure.
Yeah, how are you
Absolutely.
doing?
I'm good. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Ready to do it.
Tell everybody again a little bit about you. You are the chef over at Mittens.
Yes, sir.
You've been there for a while.
I've been with Minton's now it's been almost 8 years.
Oh,
if I'm
wow.
correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it's
Like
been
4
about
or
8
5.
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, man.
and
It's
you
amazing.
enjoy cooking. That's
Oh, for sure.
say.
I graduated from high school with 2 years in Southside Culinary, and then I went to actual CTE, and I did 9 months there, graduated with excellence.
Okay.
And then I started working for Minton's, and truly has been amazing. I love that place. I love the people I work with. They are my family at this point.
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
I got to
For
say,
sure.
I had not been there before until about the last 6 months, and it
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Awesome.
My son and I went there for brunch, and it was really good.
That's
really
what I
good.
wanted.
and you all had the food truck. The food truck is not
Not
rolling around
anymore.
Yeah.
It's old. It honestly needs repairs, things like that. Honestly, at this point, we are possibly looking into getting another location.
Okay.
You didn't hear that from me.
Didn't hear a thing.
But
Can we-
fingers crossed.
Can we not hear from you where it might be, or is that not in the...
No, don't do that. Don't do
Yes,
that. Don't do
but
that.
no.
Okay, that's
Don't
fine.
do that.
So,
Hold
That's
on.
off
yes,
there, off
but
there.
yes, but no. But yes,
find
I'm
out.
very
Okay.
excited for it. It's very promising. We've been really busy, man. We absolutely killing it down
Yeah.
there. At
You were
on
packed when
Limestone.
I went.
Man, it's stupid,
Yeah.
and it's been that way every single weekend. So at this point, it's a female-owned business. She's been there for I think it's been 15 years now.
Really?
Wow.
And so, I mean, it's amazing. And
Yeah.
she's one of the only locations to actually not only stay there, she was one of the original locations, and she's also survived through COVID. Like, it's been,
tough.
yeah, it's been
That's tough.
amazing.
That says a lot.
Yes, not only survived, we thrived through COVID. So,
That's
I mean,
awesome, man.
it is awesome. And it's truly a blessing to work there. And I'm excited to see where Minton's grows in the future for sure.
We met you through like the beer community, doing
Yes,
like the
sir.
shares and stuff like that. And I had some of your hot sauce. And I was like,
Yes, sir.
dude, you got to like manufacture some of this stuff. But I know it's hard to do that when it's just you. But we got to talk about the money talks because I love this. This is, if you're listening and not watching, this is fucking gold hot sauce. I'm not saying that like metaphorically. It's literally gold, right?
Yes, sir.
Like you put gold in
I
it.
do. So the bottle, a lot of people, I get the question a lot. Sorry, I have lint and
okay.
I have
You're good.
these beautiful long eyelashes that are trying to get in my head, that are absolutely killing me today. So this hot sauce in particular, man, is a memorial hot sauce for my brother. My brother's name is Pierre Swain. He was known on the streets as Retro, and
sir,
he was
yeah.
my older brother. We were 13 months apart, and he was an absolute just unique person. He was the most unapologetically vibrant soul you've ever met in your life. He could walk into a room and truly just capture and just his smile. That was the biggest thing. His smile and his laugh. He was always just a people person, and he was so kind. He would give you the shirt off his back, and that's what a lot of people would know about him today. But the biggest thing you knew about him was not only with that smile, he was always covered in gold. He always had a gold necklace on and had this perfect smile, perfect teeth, but then had to cover it with gold. Had to. And I always made fun of him because obviously I cracked my teeth and I was not very careful as he was, but he had braces, so he had to go through the brace phase for a very long time. And then of course he got the braces off and he's like, ooh, grills. Yeah. Oh yeah. So
that's hilarious.
So he immediately went into it. And I remember us talking one day and he was like, bro, what about buffalo sauce? And I was like, it's so boring. Who wants buffalo sauce? It's literally just chilies and vinegar. Who the fuck wants that? I don't want that. I don't want to make that. And then after he passed, I had this sort of moment where I was sort of talking to him, and it was like, not only could I make this for him, but there's a restaurant that actually does gold hot sauce.
There is one, okay.
They don't do gold hot sauce. They do gold chicken wings. And
is that the Salt Bay?
It is. It's one of them. He's also one that does it too. There was a restaurant that did it before him.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was one of those things randomly doom scrolling through YouTube. It popped up. And it was a restaurant that does, you get 10 or 15 gold chicken wings, a gold bottle of champagne, and I believe it's around $10,000.
Oh, is that all?
If I'm, that's it.
I feel like I saw this on World's Most Expensive Food Chains.
Yes, sir.
Oh, really?
That's a great show. If you not check that out.
I'm happy you brought that up.
Still on?
It is. It's changed quite a bit, but also he did an episode. Fun fact: I recommend everybody reach out and watch it. He did a most expensive cannabis infused meal. So foreshadowing, by the way. But yes, and it was awesome. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I saw his dog passed away, man. This little dog. I can't remember his name, but it's a good show.
Dog?
Yeah.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
Trappy was the dog.
Yes, Trappy.
Yeah.
And it was a bulldog?
Maybe like an English,
English,
little bitty bulldog.
He was
great,
adorable, man. He took him everywhere.
It's a great show if you're not seeing it. Seriously.
Most expensive-ish.
I never had the pleasure of meeting Retro, but I love that everything that you do, it involves him.
Yes,
like
sir.
even now, and I notice like when you come here, you bring like the memorial and like the pictures and stuff like that, and obviously the hot sauce and stuff, and it's all for him. And I think that's really awesome, man. You all had a really good relationship.
That's the best part about it is I feel like, my mom only had 2 kids and my mom worked her ass off, man. She's truly my superhero. She's worked so hard to raise, 2 good boys, and we weren't perfect, man, by any means, but we've worked our asses off to make our mom proud. Yeah. And to have not only his life taken from him, but his life was taken from him in front of my home, in front of my childhood home.
That's unbelievable.
I can say he was shot over 30 times, shot at over 30 times. My mom was the one who found him. We've lived in that house since I was born. I mean, I was almost pretty much practically raised in that home. So my mom not only refuses to leave, she fixes up her house. And we've become advocates in the community against gun violence and and for gun law change. You'll see my face more than one time for sure if you watch the news. I refuse to let it die. He didn't die in vain, and I'm not gonna stop until we have justice for him. And I don't know what that's gonna look like. It's been almost 3 years, and I'm gonna continue to do it not only for him but for myself, for my mom. For the other moms. It's one of the reasons I actually have on this mom's pinned. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but 10 years of moms. I actually am partnering with Moms Demand Action for his hot sauce. So if you can't see, there is also a gold spoon on the table. Yeah. And the hot sauce itself is a Carolina Reaper and Cayenne buffalo sauce that is blended with gold luster dust. It is a secret blend. I use a certain blend of colors to make it gold. And I also use a secret vinegar blend to give it the flavor that I use. It took about 3 years just to get the color right. Yeah. That was not getting the flavor and everything else right. That was just to make sure that I had the color stabilized and that it stayed the way I wanted to. And then also it has a 4-month aged pepper mash. Okay. And I use a sourdough starter method that I don't think anybody else has done. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I have a mother starter of pepper mash that I then add to new starters to make more hot sauce.
That mother starter sounds like a motherfucker.
It's good, man.
Well, not only does it look great, I mean, it's a really good hot sauce. We've had some of your other hot sauces and then some of your like spices,
Yes, sir.
blends, the salts. Those are fantastic.
Thank you.
I was eating some of the OG the tacos.
See the Coco Soul.
Yeah, the
Yes,
Coco
sir.
Soul taco. Just this tonight, I made pork tacos for dinner.
I love it, man. Coco Soul, and that one's even cooler. Coco Soul is one that goes back well before I even started doing hot sauce. I made Coco Soul, which is for people listening, it's KOCASOUL. It is a Cayman Island originated seasoning that I was gifted the recipe for by a man named Eden, who lived in the Cayman Islands, and he gifted the recipe to my mom once he got sick and couldn't make it anymore. I was in middle school at the time.
Yeah.
And I started making the seasoning, and I sort of revamped it, gave it my own spin, and I now make 5 different flavors of this seasoning.
Right on.
It's known essentially not just from myself and my family, but it's known in our neighborhood. We used it in our fish fries.
It's awesome.
It's a very cool
Great
season.
for a fish fry.
And
Yeah,
it's one of those things. It's an all season. It is salt based, so that is one thing I like to start with. If you have high sodium, stay away from it. Give
Or
me
just
some
take
time.
an extra blood pressure
I'm
pill.
working on the low sodium or the no sodium part, but a salt based
tough.
seasoning to
Yeah.
not have salt in it is a little rough. But I'm gonna get it figured out. But it is awesome.
It is awesome. I agree.
So yeah, I love that. I love that. My friends have got to try it, and I've actually been fortunate enough to have the experience of actually going to a restaurant and someone bragging about my hot sauce, and not knowing it was me, and then me having the pleasure of being like, hey.
That's basically celebrity status.
That's yes, and so
true.
it was a very cool moment because it was a grown man, it was a gentleman well older than me who was completely nerding out about my hot sauce, and then I proceeded to say, oh, actually that's my hot sauce.
When we go out, sometimes they'll brag on our show and just cuss it. They just cuss it a lot.
the way to do it.
So you two bastards from that show, and
Yeah,
you
they'd be like,
it's not us.
No,
it's not us.
That's the guy sitting at the table
No, I
behind
just
us.
look like you. I'm
See,
sorry.
I do that at the restaurant all the time. I'm like, if you didn't like the food, man, I had nothing to do
No, it
with
ain't
it.
me. It ain't me.
Exactly,
I was back washing dishes, man. I swear.
So before we move on, is the Gold Hot Sauce available for purchase now?
The
or
Gold
not
Hot
currently?
Sauce is always available for purchase.
Okay.
The best way to go about inquiring about it is to ask me personally on Instagram, and that is through Spiced by Swain. We'll make sure I have all that information for you guys, but it's Spiced by Swain Sauce Company on Instagram.
Perfect.
Shoot me a message, just very blatant. Hey, I'm interested. I would love to get a bottle. I will essentially have to put you on a wait list. I make 2 liters per batch, and each batch takes roughly a month to make. So if you're truly wanting it, yes.
This is the bottle you get, right?
Yes, sir. You get a 2-ounce bottle.
And you get the spoon too?
You will get a spoon if you ask for the purchase.
If you ask for the spoon,
You gotta ask for it.
It's legit a fucking gold
Gotta ask
spoon.
for it because I don't always have them. So
Yeah. Oh, that's
and
badass.
the spoons are normally traditionally saved for first releases. So if you get a first release, you'll get a copy of a poem, and you'll get a matching spoon. The next hot sauce I'll be doing, I believe I told you all, is a pepper jelly.
Okay.
And it'll be for my best friend Tim. He has a condition called neurological sarcoidosis, and it's my way of being able to advocate for his condition because it's relatively rare. It's found traditionally in African American women. Okay. And my friend is a 28-year-old Caucasian male. So
Interesting. That's
he
crazy.
woke up one day and literally couldn't walk. That was
I remember him
after
telling me this, yeah.
that was after he went through a bunch. He had stroke-like symptoms.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of different issues go on, and now at this point, he's not only completely learned how to rewalk. He's pretty much all the way back to health. He has some issues with mobility, but now he is actually getting ready to go November the 14th, I believe, and have a hip replacement.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
And he's 28. And
it's
he's a relatively healthy
Hopefully that
28-year-old.
will help him though.
Yes, sir. And so once he has that hip replacement, recovers, he is going to go then into another hip replacement.
Oh man, that's a lot.
Yes, sir. So
Oh my God.
I am doing this for him because I know that he is adamant that he is going to get back up on his feet and be better than ever. And he's worked his ass off for it. And he's not let anything stop him. Tim actually works with us on the weekends, so at Minton's. And so he's been doing absolutely amazing. So if you have the time, send him good vibes, send him good prayers. He's gonna need it, but Tim is awesome. I'm excited to do this pepper jelly.
He's a good dude. I met him a few times.
It'll be a garnet color, by the way.
I'm really excited to get into the meat of what we're doing, so to speak.
Yes.
You are an aficionado on cooking with cannabis.
I try.
I know this from experience, and I mean, some of the shit you put together is absolutely phenomenal. So we've had many conversations about this, and then knowledge that you put out there, it's just mind blowing. And you get into some of the nuance, and I'm just like, hold on, like let me take some notes and shit. You know what I mean? So I was like, we got to do this. So this will be a long episode, but this is gonna be a 2-parter.
I'm worth it, I promise.
I'm really excited about this. And then to kind of commemorate, we tried to get the dankest IPAs we could. So
That's the best we had.
And Hop Butcher out of Chicago, they just landed in town. So
From Nolan Distribution, no one's been on our show before. Thank you, Nolan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so we're drinking some dank IPAs. We're going to talk about cooking with weed. And after that, you're going to give us some of your favorite recipes. Is that right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I can't wait to get into it. So I'm going to open another beer here, and I'm going to kind of just let you talk about what you want to talk about in your methods of infusing.
Yeah.
And I'm a layman. I've never cooked with cannabis. I have no idea how to do it. I don't even really smoke, honestly. I do edibles every once in a while. So, but like, I think that's good. So I'm going to ask questions.
For sure. No, please.
And I want you to just give me knowledge.
So I guess the best place to start is one of the number one rules in consuming anything with cannabis, except for even with CBD, I won't even say except, is to start low. Okay. I think that's the rule that everybody's always heard the horror stories of eating way too much,
something and getting freaked out and go to the hospital.
Yes.
And, yeah.
So the one thing I will start by saying is if you do consume cannabis, if you consume hemp products, any of those things, they are all pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
The best way to describe it is you have the cannabis plant. The cannabis plant is derived up in between 3 different kinds or families of plant. You have your sativa, you have your indica, and then you have your hybrid. And essentially all of those are just different phenotypes of the same plant.
Okay.
So that being said, you essentially just have different profiles. So with always back in the day, you would hear people say that indica would make you tired, couch. Right. Mm-hmm. That's not technically 100% true. You may feel some of those effects, but that's not defining exactly how you're feeling. Indica is more describing of where the actual plant itself comes from, where the land race of the strain comes from and stuff like that. So with that being said, just to sort of make things a little bit simpler, when you eat cannabis, one of the other main things is cannabis has to be decarboxylated, which you've heard me say this word a lot.
And what does that mean?
Decarboxylation is the process of heating actual cannabis flowers to turn the alpha acids into bioavailable forms of
as in something you can
like liquid
metabolize.
Yes, as in something you can metabolize. That's exactly it. So if you were to take a nug, and also just to give you an example, here we go. You got some nugs here.
So you got a book there, it's Bon Appetit.
Yes,
which
Bon
they
Appetit.
have a show also, right?
Yes,
I didn't know this, but
it's amazing. Yes, so it's on Vice. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend checking it out. It's an amazing show. It gives you a real true chef's input into what cannabis is and how that works.
But this is the book. Here, I'm just gonna pour you while you talk.
Appreciate
I'm
it.
gonna serve you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we owe him. We owe him. He served us last time.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
so,
remember those potatoes
with essentially with cannabis itself in its raw form. So if you were to go and take dried cannabis that you had hanging up, which is a whole nother conversation we can get into at another point.
That'd be the third show that we do.
Yes, there you go. But if you were to take a cannabis nug that was ready to be smoked, per se, and you were to start chewing on it, you would feel no real effects, essentially nothing at all. And that's because the actual cannabis itself, to be processed by your liver, needs to be decarboxylated. Gotcha. And essentially that is the process of heating it to where you convert everything that is an alpha acid to a converted form. So it's THC. CBD. So you're converting the THCA, which is tetrahydrocannabinolic acid, to THC that is then bioavailable.
Okay.
We don't have to worry about this when we smoke, because when you light it on fire,
that's the
you're
decarboxylation method.
You're taking care of that process.
Makes sense.
So you do this method a few different ways. You can actually do it by baking your cannabis in an oven. You can do a double boiler method. There's a few different ways to actually decarboxylate cannabis itself. My favorite and preferred method is to just do it in the oven in either in papillote. So that would That's the French term for essentially wrapped in or envelope style for wrapping it in aluminum foil.
Gotcha. Okay.
Make it into a little pouch, wrap it up.
My wife's a hairstylist. I've seen her do that 1,000 times with hair, so I'm pretty sure I could do that.
So imagine just making,
this.
you literally just make like a little rectangle, put your relatively, the finer you grind your cannabis, the more green.
So you actually grind it up before you put it in there.
So that
it's not
is
just a whole.
That's
Okay.
that's a
It's okay.
That's
I'm
a
just-
preference. No.
Okay.
So it's not wrong. Some people will argue to death about that. It doesn't particularly matter. Honestly, in my personal opinion, it just makes you one step less that you have to do once it comes out of the oven.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But yes, so you can also decarboxylate cannabis by doing it slower. And once again, it has a bunch of critiques. People say that you don't necessarily get the infusion liquid hot enough. So if you infuse in a slow cooker or something like that, you still the point is to get your cannabis to.
In a slow cooker with some sort of like liquid medium, or
So
just
yes, so you would put your cannabis inside, which once again, some people say to just do this all before in the oven, but you can put it inside of a jar, add your oil, your whatever neutral oil you want to use. So that can be grapeseed oil, vegetable oil, coconut oil is my preferred method, and then you actually half cap a jar and let it sit in the water.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you use that as your
like a
heat.
sous vide.
That's exactly it. And that
right.
was the next method, was you can actually
really?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's
You
cool.
answered that own question. You can actually sous vide not only the cannabis, but you can sous vide the infusion method as well.
So is there just like a standard temperature you need to adhere to?
So, and I want to make sure I'm 100% correct. So we're
So while
actually
you're looking
gonna,
that up,
yeah,
just a
go for it.
question of like, I'm trying to grasp this. So you put this into the oven, let's say, wrap
sir.
it in aluminum foil.
Yes, sir.
And then from there, you take the weed and you put it into like coconut oil. Is that what you're
So
saying?
yes,
So it doesn't like make it into an oil. It just like heats it up to be able to get that out of it.
you
right?
literally are just you have fresh toasted
toasted
weed.
it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Makes sense.
That's exactly what you do.
Okay.
You just have some fresh toasted weed.
All right.
Something else that I wanted to talk about in another part, but it actually works out perfect. You can actually decarb cannabis in animal fat.
Okay.
Interesting.
So butter, stuff like
Yes,
that.
but not just butter, bacon fat.
Okay.
Lard,
Even better.
Wow.
Tallow,
Even better.
Wagyu fat, things like that. If you
Now you're
really
talking.
wanted,
Now you're
if you
talking.
really wanted to like upgrade, step up that level of infusion and things like that, and add the flavor, which is the main. That's what we're going for, right?
Exactly.
So if you heat your cannabis at a lower temperature, you essentially will then be preserving some of the actual terpenes, and in that process, you are preserving the natural flavors of the cannabis itself.
Okay.
Also, if you were to take and do that, like I said, in a slow cooker, then you would be infusing the oil with those natural terpenes. So you're still, once again, saving that flavor. You lose some of your THC to...
like killing two birds with one weed.
That's exactly... But I mean, it's exactly it. Fresh picked cannabis will not get you high if you eat it because it is non-psychoactive. THC found in its natural form is non-psychoactive.
Right.
But... you want to, so this is the best part. So when you start to decarboxylate, this is the reason that a lot of people actually do sous vide and things like that to preserve your terpenes. Because not only is it your flavor and aroma molecules, but you can dial in what temp. So in sous vide, you then have a lot more control.
Exactly
And
right.
you're not, it's essentially using a double boiler method to the utmost advanced degree.
Okay.
So here, keep in mind, THC boils off at 314 degrees, which is very, very low. It's very low to what most people think it is.
So you have to be careful, or you're going to lose
Or you're going to lose
everything
THC.
that you basically
Exactly.
are working for and doing.
This is exactly
right at
it.
the beginning. Okay.
You should never come close to that danger point. Terpenes are even more volatile with delicate caryophyllene, which I'll explain these in just a minute. Caryophyllene is a terpene that is normally found in black pepper and things like that.
Okay.
Evaporating at 246. Tougher linalool, which is normally found in lavender, is cooked off at 388 degrees, and other well-known terps disappearing at points in between.
Okay. You said a lot right there.
Yes.
And I have a lot of questions.
Feel free to ask.
So again, terpenes.
Yes, sir.
What the hell are terpenes?
Terpenes.
Flavor, smell?
Terpenes are the flavor and aroma molecules of the plants. So essentially, this one actually works out perfect for me. I'm a big cannabis oil fan. I personally like to dab, which is the process of vaporizing cannabis oils, cannabis concentrates. So when I say concentrates, so go off on a little tangent here just to help you understand.
We enjoy tangents. Go ahead.
It helps because it won't make much sense. People who dab, vaporize cannabis concentrates. Concentrates are things like BHO, which is butane hash oil. Sounds absolutely terrifying, but it is essentially a cannabis concentrate method. At this point, it is much safer to consume than it's even safer to consume than cannabis.
That's what I was thinking.
Forms.
Like, I would assume that'd be better for like your body, your lungs. All
So a lot
stuff.
of people who
I've
can't
heard that.
smoke.
It's safer to consume?
It's safer because of how clean the product itself is. Now, obviously, that comes into where you're getting it from.
Okay.
If you want to consume the cleanest product that you can buy as a cannabis product, you would consume something in the form of rosin or ice water hash rosin, things like that.
Gotcha.
When I say ice water hash rosin, what I mean is they literally take a vat or bucket of ice water, very, very cold, take frozen cannabis, and you wash it in ice water. THC is not water soluble. Most cannabinoids are not.
It's like an oil.
So they'll separate. Yes. So it'll actually, and so is your, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but essentially the colors too. So if you have a purple strain, it will bleed into the water.
What does that look like, the material? Like, what is a dab?
So
I know what pot looks like. It looks like, flour. Right?
yes. Green. So essentially concentrates can come in a bunch of different forms. They essentially look like, I guess the rosin.
It's like a wax?
Yes, it's very waxy. I hate to describe it this way, but it's
like
the
earwax.
best. It's like earwax. That's the best way to describe it.
I've seen it. I'm like, that fucking looks like
Yeah,
earwax.
most traditional forms of concentrates look like some kind of.
That's
really
okay. I'm just
gross-
curious.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
looks like really some kind of gross sort of, or they look like hard drugs. If we're going to be 100% honest, most pure forms of anything, salt, for instance, in its purest form is a crystal form. THC in its purest form is a crystal form. It is a diamond. It actually looks like diamonds. It is a very insane looking process to actually see pure THC.
No shit.
It's absolutely unusual. Like to
under
see,
a microscope, you have to look at it that way?
No, I'm talking about the process of opening.
I would say if it crystallized it,
Yes,
it
sir.
would probably look like salt from without a microscope.
If you were
You don't
to
have to show. I'm just totally curious. I just didn't know.
So if you have, for instance, solventless is a big thing that you'll hear in the cannabis industry right now. A lot of people want to get away from solvents because solvents are.
They want it more pure.
Yeah, you want your purest
chemicals and stuff,
product. Yeah, nobody wants to use solvents as their or any kind of harsh chemical as a solvent anymore.
Right.
So at this point, we're all using ice water hash is a big one. Rosin, which is the process of taking heat and pressure and pressing cannabis or pressing hash or keef or whatever and making an oil that is solventless but pure, which is an interesting product. And it's also, if you use that product, you are going to preserve the most amount of terpenes you can get.
And it feels very natural.
Yes.
I mean, and that's kind of the movement nowadays anyway, right?
Yes,
It's to be
absolutely.
more natural in everything that we do, you know, like in our cooking, in our daily life, in our weed.
Yes.
I mean,
for
seriously.
sure. That's the
Honestly,
truth.
yeah.
So the biggest thing I've always stood by, which a lot of people laugh at me about, is to normalize it. If it's always one of those very taboo things when you discuss it, but one of those taboo things when people bring it up, then it's going to remain that way.
Exactly.
But if you just act like it's a perfectly normal thing, if you have a cannabis cookbook sitting on your coffee table, or on your kitchen table when people come in and they're like, oh, what is that?
That's very
well,
well
take a
said.
second to read it. Actually, it's really
It's only a big deal when you make it a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, my biggest thing is to get to that point where we can sit down, have beers, and also be able to conversate and essentially have, cannabis sommelier style events.
Yeah.
I want that. I want to be able to do a cannabis catered meal. Where they start to finish, it can be infused with THC and CBD, and maybe even a few other cannabinoids, CBGA and things like that. So
Well, I think we've. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that when you say that, and we've talked about this in the past, like doing an entire meal that's infused, like my first thought is not having a lot of experience with this is like, I don't want to walk away like fucking
messed up,
blown out of my mind and like stumbling and cross-eyed and just like I can't breathe and stuff like that. But that's not the way you do it. It's just like it's super low dose.
Yes, sir.
And it's basically by the end of the meal, it's just like you honestly, you feel fine.
It should be no different than if you were to have had a few cocktails.
Exactly.
That should
right.
be exactly
and
the
that's
same
one
feeling.
thing that's like when I first heard that, it didn't really like stick
Yes.
with me until like I started to talk to you more.
Because no one really does that. And I think that's what I'm trying to get to a point of is like, hey, this can be sort of like, you know, tiptoed into. It doesn't have to be this big.
Don't have to dive in head
Yeah, it
first.
doesn't have to be this big thing. But at the same time, this is something I feel like needs to be talked about. It needs to be discussed. It needs to be done. Nobody's doing this, and it's such an untapped. I mean, I come across as the to people who know me and my friends. I come across as like, oh, he's just the pothead. You know, he's just the stoner. He's just the guy who likes
I
weed.
do not see you like that.
No.
No.
And then,
Very cerebral.
But then I love that because from
Yeah.
people like you all, you're just
Yeah.
like, holy shit, he's so like
Yeah.
well versed and
Yeah,
like
100%,
and knowledgeable about that
100%.
stuff. So I love that aspect because it gives me somewhere to be able to be like, hey, this is what I want you guys to know.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like it's a whole world. Like it's a whole world that not only for us is, you know, for someone like myself is fun. It's fun for me, but it also helps me. It's
medicine.
Like, yeah, it truly
medicine.
does help me. Like, yes, I have a fantastic time consuming cannabis and I absolutely love it. And I don't plan on changing that. But and hemp as well. I also want to make that known. Hemp and cannabis are technically the same thing. But if you were looking at them legally, they are not the same thing.
Not in
So-
Kentucky, it's not.
So yes,
Wink, wink.
so yes, let's go on and let's get that out of the way real quick. We are not consuming any actual
Yeah.
cannabis.
No, not at all.
There's
Not
no
at all.
cannabis
No, no,
here
no.
right now,
Yeah.
but at the
But-
same time, yes, like
Yeah. I mean, I think there's that big stigma too. You know, you talk of like, you know, THC, cannabis.
Yes.
Then you call it, what is it we call it? Hemp.
Hemp, yeah.
You call it like now, so what do we have? The, what's it called? It's on everything right now. Cornbread hemp.
yes,
It's a big advertiser on radio shows, Kentucky Sports Radio and stuff. So they
It's a
have
Kentucky-based
gummies,
company, yes, sir.
CBD, but they also have Delta 8, Delta 9 now. We talked a little bit about that off
Yes.
air, but Delta 9 is essentially the same
Delta
thing.
9 THC
Right.
is THC. Yes, THCA also just for anybody curious. Tetrahydrocannabolic acid is the precursor to Delta 9 THC, and Delta 9 THC is just THC.
Okay.
Period.
And I think too, I mean, I'm glad you're on here talking about this because there's been that stigma in the world,
Yeah.
in the U.S. too. I mean, we're seeing it change though. A lot of states going legalize for
Yes, sir.
medical, especially for
Kentucky's
recreational
going
too.
medical.
We're medical,
Yes,
I think.
we
soon,
are.
Right?
I was going to say
Maybe
we are
now.
currently. We're currently in the process.
Figuring out.
Yeah.
I know Ohio just went recreational.
Yes. Yeah.
They have medical too, but I've seen a lot of benefits from this. A lot of those CBD ointments and stuff. We talked about that, but also the THC side effects of things of like, you know, cancer patients
Yeah.
or people that have chronic pain.
Yes, sir.
There's been a lot of good improvements for that. So I love kind of destigmatizing that.
Absolutely.
You know, we're sitting here drinking beers and stuff on our show, but if you look at the younger generation, a lot of them are not consuming alcohol
Yes.
like we did, right? Or like we do.
No, not at
They're
all.
looking at more like this or low, like microdosing, whatever, mushrooms or
Mushrooms,
whatever.
stuff, yeah.
And you hear all these YouTubers and podcasts, they're talking about it too, like the Joe Rogans of the world or the Theo Vaughns.
Yeah.
Different people too. They're talking about that. So
Absolutely.
thank you for coming
It
on.
is-
Of course,
it
my
is
pleasure.
important. I agree. It's important.
It's just different. You know, it's like, and
100%.
also out of all the things that people can be doing or could be doing or even should be doing, why is cannabis the one thing that even in 2024 is still somehow stigmatized and frowned upon?
Yeah.
How are we still dealing with that? How you know how is
Misinformation.
So it's just
education. You know.
it just doesn't make
propaganda.
any sense. Like, absolutely, should you be consuming cannabis while you're driving? Probably not.
Yeah.
It's like probably not. No, I don't agree with that, and I understand why that's illegal.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the same reason I shouldn't be drinking and driving.
Correct.
But I feel like that's common sense. I don't feel like that also should be the government's choice to tell me that. And so that is the reason I'm such a big advocate for cannabis. Also, I've consumed CBD outside well before I consumed cannabis for a very long time. Probably 6 or 7 years well before I actually consumed THC. And CBD has changed my life. Truly. Literally has changed my life. I suffer from anxiety disorder that I'm now on prescription medication for, and I've also suffered from a panic disorder that I'm now on prescriptions for. And CBD,
There's an argument that could be made that THC, CBD probably
Absolutely.
better for you
Absolutely.
than the medications.
yeah,
that
I
are
mean,
prescribed.
and that's the thing, yeah. And I was honest with my doctor about that too. I was actually happy you bring that up because I was very against. My father abused prescription medication, so I was 100% against
super
taking
common.
it. Yeah,
Super
it was
common.
completely against it. And my wife fought with me for years, just like, you know, I love you, but I am now medicated myself, and I feel so much better, and I understand why you don't want to or why you haven't, but I just think you need to look into it. Just talk to the doctor about it. Yeah. If it doesn't work, that's fine. You don't have to. So I actually spoke to my doctor about it. They gave me non-habit forming medication, and it's been great. And I still use it, even though she said, and that was one of the things I want to say, listen to your doctor, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, like, your choice is your choice. But she said, I don't agree with cannabis being a long-term effect medication just because it affects you differently throughout time. And that is her own choice. And I respected, absolutely. And I respected her opinion on that. Obviously, cannabis and hemp both still help me great. So at this point, I still use them. I have used less as far as dosage goes and stuff like that. And especially with CBD, because CBD is more of the medicinal side of the plant, I guess is a better way to describe it. It's more.
Well, you look at like NFL players, like a lot of them, they finally, I think, decriminalized that from their list, so they can smoke that and stuff. Because I mean, they're giving them Vicodin and Percocets and Oxycontin and whatever else. It's like, hey, we can't smoke a joint. It's like, well,
but you're going through.
It might be a little better for me. I don't know.
It makes a scratch.
I can go out here and get
NBA does not drug test for that. If they did, I'd say 80% of the league probably be gone.
It's stupid. I can go and have I can go out here and risk getting TBI or some kind of severe concussion, but I can't make sure to protect.
And you look at it too, like it's not performance enhancing on the court, right? Like,
not at all.
I don't think if somebody consumed a lot of THC, they're going to like do better.
No,
if you had a lot of steroids or whatever, maybe, but not that.
But not that. And it's also that thing too with cannabis. There's so many things we've proved that it helps, but now we've still stigmatized it and limited it so much that we can't test it for all the things we need to. Yeah. So that becomes that double-edged sword. Prime example being with us legalizing medical and then having revisions in our hemp bill and our farm law that now make it harder to get a hold of actual hemp flower and things like that. They're dumb, because why are we going against our own law? Yeah. Like, why are we fighting one law with another law when it's just
I think there's two reasons in my own opinion. Number one is they can't tax. They've not taxed it yet. They've not figured out how to tax the hell out of it. They're going to. They're going to figure it out. Oh yeah. And then number two is, like, if you talked about driving. So if you're driving, you've had too much to drink.
Yes.
You have a blood alcohol level, right? Yep. But with cannabis, like, what is it? How do you know if somebody's too high to drive? Because to my understanding, if you've had it in your system, you're going to test positive for it.
Right.
I don't think there's degrees that I'm aware of.
No, locally here in the state of Kentucky, there's no, as far as I know, there's no current way to test to see if someone's under the effects of cannabis. But in the state of Colorado and I believe California, they have started to, someone invented a product to actually be able to scan, I believe it's your eyes, and then they also do your breath alcohol level.
Okay.
And it has something to do with scanning specifically for cannabis in your system. I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, it's a good step in the right direction, right?
But, but it's something that a lot of people were saying the same thing about. They were like, it seems dumb because obviously no one wants to be stopped. No one wants to be accosted and have those issues. But at the end of the day, just be smart.
That also sounds like alien technology.
It really does.
It just made up. It just made up. They give you a little swab. Like, it's fine. You're good. You're probably good.
Yeah, like,
are you testing me? Is this COVID? Like, I don't understand.
And you put it up your nose, like in your brain.
You're coughing.
But that's my biggest thing is, play it smart. Don't smoke in your car. Like, let's be responsible adults.
Well, same as beer, right? Any alcohol. Like, don't drive down the road drinking a fifth of Jack Daniels.
That's
like,
exactly
come on,
it. It sounds like common sense,
it
but
does,
you would be surprised.
Nobody has that hardly.
You'd be surprised when you're sitting at a stoplight and you smell something burning, and you're like, who in the hell is in their car just Willie Nelson it right now, just like it's like somebody is just like it smells like Snoop Dogg's
Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, it's like Snoop Dogg's house, and I'm at a stoplight and on New Circle Road, and I'm just like, I don't understand. So yes, absolutely. I think that's my biggest thing.
Getting back into the actual cooking part of it.
I'm still in on this.
That's cool.
Yeah. So what were we talking about?
Terpenes.
Yes. Terpenes.
So with terpenes are the flavor and aroma molecules, and this one is actually really cool because it does describe something here that says whenever we use terpenes, the fragrant oils of cannabis varieties, they go into cold dishes. They are volatile at high temperatures, potent in flavor, and used much like other culinary extracts sparingly. So you use them in very, very small doses. I believe it is actually like 1 drop to every, I think it's 20 grams
So do terpenes give you an effect of THC or CBD, or do they just give you the aroma and like taste?
Terpenes do not give you actually any actual effect.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
they
So
do
it's
not
more-
contain any actual THC or CBD. They are literally just flavor and aroma molecules.
Okay. And the one I have here is orange
These are
creamsicle.
steam distilled terpenes.
Okay.
I've used these in a few different recipes, things like that. They're very, very strong, obviously, when you smell them.
But this doesn't smell like weed.
No, these
it
do
smells
not.
like
No, not
orange
at all.
creamsicle,
So
what's
these are
called.
flavors. These are actual
These are
flavors.
freaking amazing.
They're really cool.
This came from a cannabis plant.
No,
These did not.
Not at all. So these are what's called BTD. These are botanical derived terpenes.
Okay.
These are derived from plants, different flowers, herbs, things like that. They blend them and make
I
these
see.
flavors.
Okay.
Oh, so it's not cannabis.
Not at all.
Terpenes is
Not
a
at
gen-
all.
it's a general
Yes.
thing.
So
I see, okay.
HDTs are hemp-derived terpenes.
Okay.
That are terpenes. Steam
So these are
distilled.
examples, and
Yes.
these are amazing. I'm gonna can I
No,
try this?
no, dude, don't
What
do
will
that.
happen if
do
I
that.
try
Be
You will be
bitter.
very sick.
Yeah.
Very sick.
So it doesn't taste
Yeah.
as good as it smells.
It does not
in
at all.
small amounts. I get it. I get it.
Those smell
Essentially,
great.
if
got
you were going to-
waffle something, and then orange dreamsicle.
dreamsicle,
yeah.
So you could actually take a drop of it and put it in your beer. That would be a good way to actually describe like what the flavor would be
the
like.
idea. Yeah,
that
that's
would be the way to go. It's honestly so strong.
So what do you use those for? Like cooking?
Yeah,
Just to add
for
to
food,
it? Okay.
absolutely. Candy, that would be another
Gotcha.
one that I like using them into. Obviously, you have to be careful once again with temperature, just because they're volatile at high temps. You can use them in vinaigrettes, things
okay.
like that. That would be a cool one because it's a
sounds
relatively cold thing. Syrups that aren't hot. So if you were doing infused honey, that would be a good one.
Okay.
So things like that. But yeah, they're absolutely. I mean, you can essentially anything cold you can infuse them into or mix them into, and they'll just. You can also use those to help pair with whatever you're having. Obviously, in the beer world, I know something that you all talk about a lot is different flavors that you get with beers.
Yeah.
And a lot of those, especially with IPAs, especially dank IPAs, can be hoppy, grassy, catty, piney. Sure. All of those things are very well-known adjectives to describe beer. Those are the exact same things you can use to describe cannabis.
And it's funny. There is an adjective in beer, and it's dank.
Dank,
Yeah,
yes.
and it actually relates to cannabis.
Absolutely.
Well, fresh
So-
hops
so it's
smells
interchangeable.
like
Smells,
weed.
yeah, it smells like weed.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, cannabis and hops are sister plants. Or cousin plants, whatever you want to describe it.
They're from
But
Kentucky, sister cousins.
I mean, they're my sister cousins. That's exactly
I know
it.
some of those.
Yeah,
I
you
know some
actually,
people like that.
We're from Kentucky. I mean, we're right smack dab in the middle of it. So yeah, you got your sister cousin plants right
Uncle,
here.
brother, it's the same
yeah,
thing. Same thing. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, dad, uncle. Yeah, that. We ain't gonna talk about that. This is Kentucky. I'm trying not to disgrace us more than we already have. But
You got to embrace it. It makes it better.
Kentucky, not Kentucky.
That's right.
So you end up with a bunch of different unique flavoring notes, descriptions, descriptors, whatever you want to call it. But you have citrusy, earthy, herbal, sweet and fruity, and floral. All of these, once again, can definitely correlate to different alcoholic beverages.
Right.
Sure.
Me personally, I love pairing cannabis with alcohol, particularly beers.
Flavor wise or just, okay.
Both effect and flavor wise, because I feel like I enjoy the effects of being able to compare the two. I know it is not for novice consumers. I'll start off by saying that flat out. If you do not normally consume cannabis on a regular basis, do not consume cannabis and alcohol. You will not have a very good time, or you have the best time and then the worst time after. But I promise you, it's not going to end well. So if you do normally consume cannabis and alcohol, and you do want to feel the need to want to try to consume them together, then I highly recommend it. But do it in a very, very small dose of both, because they both make each other. They both essentially accentuate the effects of the other. Even if you, and this is for people who don't know this, even if you consume CBD regularly, CBD is non-psychoactive, so you will not feel any psychoactive high from actual CBD. It is all medicinal. You may feel a body buzz, and that's just because it's allowing your body to truly relax and things like that. But CBD does also allow you neurologically to relax. So when you consume alcohol, you will get drunk quicker. Fun fact.
Okay.
Trying to cut out on your buzz a little bit or your budget, not your buzz.
CBD.
Yeah, not your buzz, just
Then,
your budget.
you know, a little bit of alcohol and CBD will definitely take care of you. But once again, be careful because it can be a very bad time.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure. I've seen people in that situation.
so for the
not
people,
pretty.
yeah, for sure. And for the people who green out, it happens to all of us. We've all been there. And when the term green out, I mean consume too much cannabis, whether it be smoking, whether it be consuming, any of it, drinking at this point. There are a few emergency 911 tips you can use. One being CBD, consuming pure CBD, consuming CBD
So
flower.
you're talking about if somebody consumes too much, what should you do?
If
Okay,
you
go ahead,
consume
go ahead.
too much THC and
Gotcha.
you start to panic or you start to
CBD.
feel, yes, taking CBD will relatively large amount of CBD at one time will actually counteract the effects of THC.
It sounds counterintuitive.
It does. It definitely does. But it will. CBD has been known and proven to actually counteract the effects of THC. Also, this is very much so 911 situation. You don't want to call 911. You want to stay
What are they
home.
gonna do?
You will
Yeah.
live. You will be okay.
Yeah.
Get in a nice hot shower. Chill. Put you some music on. Relax. You're going to be okay. I promise. You're going to be
Yeah.
okay. But the biggest thing, if you need immediate relief and you're freaking out, chewing on peppercorns.
You were telling me about this, and this was like, this didn't make any sense.
Yes,
to me.
sir. So that actually goes back to the terpenes that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Certain terpenes have certain effects, not necessarily the effects that we think they do as far as getting us high, but they do have effects that do correlate with our cannabis use. So, carotene is the terpene predominantly found in black pepper. You can take whole peppercorns if you feel too high on cannabis and chew whole peppercorns. You can chew them, hold them in your mouth for at max, I would say 4 to 5 minutes.
Say it sounds like it's like bitter.
It sounds, yeah, it's very terrible. It's not going to be fun.
It'll help you,
It's
probably.
not at all.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you have the culinary knowledge or the time and resources to do so, you can also make a black pepper tincture,
Okay.
Okay.
which is
If
Everclear.
you've already
is
taken
what-
too much, you're probably not going to be able to.
Yeah, that's
For
what's
sure.
the foresight,
Which
right?
is, yes.
Yeah.
So
You
this
gotta
is
think
something
ahead.
obviously
Yeah.
you'd
Yeah,
want to do
no, I'm
beforehand.
following.
You don't want to do this well before you're way too concerned.
Like, how long is this tincture gonna make, man? I've only got 3 minutes.
I don't know how to do this. Where's the kerosene? That's not what you're supposed to
Yeah,
use.
that's the wrong kind of tincture.
So yes, tincture. And when I say tincture, we'll get into that. But tinctures are normally done with Everclear.
Okay.
Don't 100% agree with that. We'll talk about that in another time. Nonetheless, you take black pepper, chew on it, chew it as much as you can. Doesn't have to be 5 minutes, longer the better, and then spit it out. Rinse your mouth out. That carotene release will actually do the exact same thing that
cool.
CBD is known
That's
to do.
really cool.
That's
And
actually good to know. I mean,
Yes.
seriously, if somebody's done that, I've seen
Yes.
people too high. I've seen
sir.
them, you know, it's just like,
This is one of the reasons that it becomes a really cool, not only a hobby, but it's nice to have people who know, or just to do your research about terpenes.
Right.
Because terpenes are found in everything. Anything with a smell or a taste, you can find terpenes in. So when you find certain terpenes that can work with something else in advantage or in disadvantage, it becomes a sort of a superpower.
Yeah.
Like it's really nice to have
Knowledge
that.
is power.
Knowledge is truly
Next
power.
time I see somebody like grinning out, I'm gonna put
I
my
mean-
foot on their chest and I'm gonna take a pepper
Yeah.
grinder and I'm just gonna
Just
go to
open
town.
up the
on
top
mouth,
of it and
like,
just
open
dump
the
it
mouth,
in.
Just, yeah.
Don't grind it out, just dump it in.
just whole pepper.
Yeah, just hold the throat so they don't choke. But other than that,
Don't
don't
swallow it,
don't
just
swallow
hold
it,
it in
just
there and
chew
chew
it.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. You know, and they'll thank you for that because you help them to not grin out. They'll puke from the peppercorns later, but that's
Yeah.
fine.
And I've been like, oh, that helped? I didn't know I was just fucking with you. I had no idea.
I didn't really think that would work. Man, I had no clue. Also, fun fact. I'm sad I didn't bring it. It was one thing I did forget to bring. But I made a batch of sugar that was infused using the ethanol, which is one of the methods I sent you.
Yeah.
Ethanol infusion. All of that to say that mango is one of the sugars that I actually made. I used fresh Florida mangoes. I used fresh Florida mangoes
Right.
to make a THC infused or THC and CBD 1-to-1 infused sugar. So I took granulated sugar, ethanol, alcohol, fresh mangoes, infused the mangoes and the Everclear and THC together.
So would you use that for like baking purposes or more just like finishing?
Anything.
Okay.
Because at that point, other than heating it, that's the biggest thing with baking. You don't want to heat it, so it would be a finishing.
Yeah.
It would be a
Okay.
finishing product for that. but you can use it then for which is another thing I actually didn't bring. But you can do Fun Dip.
Okay.
Or things like that, pixie sticks.
I remember Fun Dip in the movie
yes.
theaters.
Just saying the word fun dip makes me want to say
Absolutely.
That little stick that sucked, but you got like
Yep,
lick it.
and it's literally called a lick-a-stick. I don't know if you knew
good.
that.
Yeah.
But so I actually I'm a huge nostalgia candy fan.
yeah.
So in that kind of degree, I would love to go back and remake those kinds of candies.
Yeah, hell
so
yeah.
like Sugar Daddies, for instance.
Like Sugar Daddies.
I would love to do that, make an infused Sugar Daddy.
Yeah.
But those are things you can do. You can definitely do that. The Dreamsicle terpene, yes.
Yep.
So this one would be a prime example of the old school Dreamsicle push pop.
Yeah.
Oh, it smells just like it.
That would be something that would be
Orange
something
cream
cool.
soda, something.
So
yeah.
can you imagine a mango orange creamsicle?
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, so little things like that are actually sound difficult. Excuse me, but they're actually relatively simple. They're really, really easy processes to make.
Let's get into those processes.
yeah,
I
so
would like
for sure.
to learn it
Yeah.
for sure. So
I'm here
what
for it.
are,
We're going
what are
sidebar,
some-
sorry,
what are
sorry.
some of your preferred methods of actually infusing different foods with cannabis?
So as I started off, so you have sugar. Sugar uses an ethanol infusion method. Traditionally, that's the only method I've been able to figure out, and it's really cool because it's just it's volatile. It takes finesse, but also at the same time, it's one of those methods that you have to truly pay attention to. Cooking with cannabis can be fun. Cooking with cannabis can be invigorating, and it can also be dangerous as fuck. If you're cooking, it can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Cooking with ethanol is a different beast because I am cooking.
Okay.
You're cooking with 190 proof alcohol.
Right.
So
You catch a spark, you catch a little flame, and everything goes up.
Exactly. So you got to make sure to vent wherever you're cooking. So my solution to that problem is I actually use 100 proof alcohol. I don't use I'm not a purist. I don't use Everclear. It's relatively hard to fucking find.
No, you said that. Yeah, you said people do use Everclear.
Yes,
but
a lot of people do. If you're looking for the utmost THC percentage, then absolutely. Some people are what we call THC sluts. They want to go for for all the percentages. You have to read the percentage on the back of the package just to make sure I'm getting
most
all of it.
potable they can get, yeah.
And honestly, that doesn't matter whatsoever. By the time that package has been put into a container and sent off somewhere and touched, especially if it's a clear package or a clear container and it's seen some sunlight, you've lost some of that THC.
The heat,
yes,
I guess, yeah.
UV rays actually,
okay.
UV rays oxidize and kill THC.
It's the same with hops and
Yes,
beer.
sir.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Idea,
So that's why the brown amber bottles and brown amber containers have become a big thing. Black containers and things like that. Frosted.
Same with beer. You don't see the 22-ounce bombers anymore.
Yes.
If you do, or bottles at all, they're always amber.
Absolutely. And same, once again, very sister cousins. They truly do have the same.
Yeehaw.
I'm telling you, man, they have the exact same sort of principles behind them. So when you look at it that way, it makes a lot of sense. So with the sugar process, you take ice cold alcohol.
Gotcha.
Mine being Tversky, 100 proof vodka.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
That's the
It's
shit.
actually true. That's actually
Well,
true.
that was
It is
in
terrible.
college. Like when
Yeah.
it's like you're going to a party, and it's like you got to grab a bottle of something,
Tversky.
and you get Tversky because it's literally the cheapest vodka that you can get.
There might be some cheaper, but it's the nicest, cheapest vodka.
Not even at the time. Like I'm pretty sure it was literally the cheapest vodka
I think
you could get.
didn't Barton make it was cheaper? Heaven Hill,
I don't
maybe?
think so. I think you could
White
get like
Dog, yeah. They did actually.
There's some cheaper.
They did their
there's some
White Dog.
cheaper
Heaven
vodka.
Hill did White Dog for a while there.
like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did
It's
they?
been a minute.
See, no, but see,
You're
I
lying.
don't think their White Dog was readily available.
It wasn't White Dog. It was just like their cheap ass
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Heaven
okay.
Hill House vodka.
But you
or
could
whatever it
go.
was.
You could go to like the corner gas station and get a pint of Tversky
Yes.
for like
It's true.
$2.
It's true.
You can go to your
True.
local neighborhood apartment and knock on on the back door.
Yeah.
And get you a couple Sprites and a pint of Tversky.
we have bootleggers where I was from. Same principle though. We had Kessler
you
and
had
then
bootleggers
that,
and I had hood dealers.
Neighborhoods.
It's
yeah,
bad,
just
man.
friends. Yeah.
Have you had Kessler before?
It's smooth as silk.
Smooth as silk.
That's what it
baby.
says anyway.
That is literally the motto.
It's actually not smooth as silk at all.
Ever since I came to your house and I had the Malort,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
that changed my
I'm
life.
sorry.
That
For the
changed my life.
worse, I'm sorry.
And so my friend Tim, which you've met, random side tangent, he loves Jägermeister.
Okay.
He's not had Malort.
Oh shit! We can actually buy Malort.
Does he
in
also
Lexington
like
now.
shitting his pants? Because let's give him some Malort.
or losing your security deposit?
There you go.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, hey,
Get in a fight with your dad?
he might be down for all three. You never know.
It's a trifecta.
But
That's called the Malort
I'm
trifecta.
down to do I want to do a Malort tincture.
We will get him some Malort.
I want to do I want to give him some Malort. I need to before I leave this earth.
We both have plenty to.
Yeah, we
Awesome.
got you.
I love it. He's got to experience the terribleness of Malort.
Oh, it's bad.
But I also want to do I have some fun peppers that I was given for free.
Nice.
Hot peppers.
And yes,
Cool.
and so I want to do a Malort tincture.
All right.
And do maybe I have some death spiral peppers.
Yeah, because I want to say Malort's. I think it might be 100 proof.
It is. I
Yeah,
think it's
I think
right
it
at.
is.
So it's perfect for a tincture, and I think making people have extra spicy, terrible Malort.
It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't make it worse.
No,
I guarantee that.
not at
Extra
all.
spicy, terrible Malort shits.
Sounds
Yeah.
yes. Can you imagine having Ring of Fire? Yeah, sorry.
With Malort?
Yeah, with Malort. We're
Yeah.
I'm
So you
squirreling.
said you have to not freeze it out, the Tavarsky,
So
but
no, so it's best to keep your solvent cold if you're using alcohol. So I keep it as cold as possible. It's essentially called a QWISO method, QWISO, quick wash iso. It's
Gotcha. It's an acronym. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it started.
I was like, what fucking
yes.
language is that?
So it started with isopropyl.
Okay.
People were washing, yes.
Okay.
So I know it's terrible.
Okay.
And I hate it because I don't agree with using isopropyl alcohol for anything that's going in your body. But people did it. So, and I guess if you purge enough of it out, you'll be fine. I don't know.
I mean, this is basically the same as like making cocaine. At that
Yes,
point.
for sure. I mean, everybody has their own method. People are trying to get their medicine. I get it.
Yeah.
It's not for me. So I never did that. I'm not putting isopropyl alcohol in my body. But so I used ethanol alcohol, which makes sense. It's food grade. So that is how you make, you take your frozen alcohol, your frozen cannabis, you grind it, and then you shake those two things together in a frozen jar.
Okay.
So that is that's called the QWISO method. Sorry, not QWISO. So QWISO is quick wash ethanol.
So is it merge with each other? Will it separate? I was trying
So
to think like
the cannabis itself is the alcohol itself is used as a solvent to strip all of the cannabinoids off of the plant. So all of the things that you end up with when you make keef or in the bottom of your grinder and things like that, or the dust in the bottom of the bag,
dust,
things
okay,
like that. The little bitty trichomes, the which once again I have to explain, but the little bitty dots on the plant themselves are like dust. They're almost like dandruff, like pollen. That's exactly what they are. And so that product itself is alcohol solvent soluble. So it's alcohol soluble. It is fat soluble. It is. You can also use nitrous, which is another method we'll get into, which is what I
that's what I like to
described.
hear.
Yes. Yeah. So with ethanol, you're using the alcohol as a solvent. You strip the plant, you wash it, you shake it in this ice cold alcohol, and then you strain it. And you can do this method a few times. With that being done,
ice box from beer, just keep going.
that's exactly it. So, and also, I would also be very curious to see what this process would do with hops, because I would be very curious to see how it would work.
I bet they've done it, right?
Just to know someone's done it for sure. So essentially, you take your wash, what's left in the alcohol, and you strain it, and then you can take and choose to cook it down using a double boiler method, obviously, and little heat as possible, because one, it's volatile, and two, it's got alcohol in it. So
would that be the decarboxylation process at that point?
yes,
Gotcha.
That at that point you would be going low and slow because
And every time I say it, I fuck it up.
So
but I'm gonna get it.
so you're actually perfect. If it helps, you can just say decarb.
Don't tell him that. Don't tell him he's perfect. It just goes to his head.
You're okay.
He's not. He's decent.
It's already in my head. It can't get any more in my head.
Oh my God, it's coming at me. It's everywhere.
So in that process, you're actually using the heat to not only reduce and cook off the alcohol, any residual alcohol left, but you're also going to be reducing down and strengthening your leftover product. So that alcohol solvent, the QWISO can then be used in sugar, salt, things like that. You take a tray, you fill it full of salt or sugar, you dump over your alcohol, you mix it really well, and you can choose to bake it off. You don't have to. because you will lose. Obviously, anytime you add heat, you're going to lose something.
Yeah.
So there's that process as well, but also just allowing that to sit. Some people just let it sit. And you can, my method is using a proofing setting on your stove, on your oven.
What do you mean?
What's
So
that?
the bread proofing. So
I don't fucking bake, dude.
okay, so
No,
you're good.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So if I'm correct, I think the bread proofing setting on your oven is like 195. So it's one of the lowest settings, like 200 degrees, something like that.
Gotcha, okay.
And then it's literally just a warm environment to let bread rise.
Okay.
I got you.
That is the perfect environment to let your sugar dry.
So it's a preset.
It's a preset, yeah.
Okay.
So you can also do it in
Like
a,
hitting popcorn on
Yep,
microwave.
That's exactly it. So you
I've
can
done
do
that
it.
before. I can
I've
do
done that
that.
before,
So you can do it in a dehydrator. That also works. Or you can just
Damn,
let it
okay.
sit in, or you can use sunlight and natural air. But the biggest issue with that is you just have to watch how much sunlight it gets, because sunlight will kill your THC. But at the end of the day, that
and
product
UV.
dries. You stir it, let it dry, stir it, and then you can use it as an infused product because your alcohol has evaporated, but your THC will be left.
So you've got me. I got one more question. Different note. The nitrous. Is that what we said?
Yeah.
What the hell's that?
Hold on a second. What is there a fancy name for this process? Because you gave me a whole list of fancy names.
I did. So I did.
I'm waiting for some fancy names.
I'm just
here.
over here looking for nitrous.
So
I don't know.
the ethanol process, if you were to wash the cannabis very quickly and not leave it in there a very long time, shake as vigorously as you can. I take that back. Shake as lightly as you can and wash it in the shortest amount possible with fresh cannabis. That is called Golden Dragon.
Golden Dragon.
Okay.
Yes, when that cannabis
It's a very
oil-
cool name.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
when
fucking great name.
so when
I think
that
I saw that movie of Bruce Lee, and I'm pretty sure I saw that one.
that tincture itself will come out of the wash gold. It'll look an amber color.
Shit. Okay.
Damn.
It'll be truly an amber color, and I'm sad because I had some that I'd made and I didn't bring it. Just to give you an example,
Yeah.
But it truly does come out a perfect gold amber color.
Okay.
So with Green Dragon, you're washing longer. You're washing at a much more vigorous pace, so you're shaking more, and you're not and you're cooking off for a longer time.
Okay. What are the benefits of doing one over the other?
Golden
necessarily?
Dragon has more terpenes. Golden
So
Dragon
more
has
flavor?
more flavor, and also Golden Dragon technically is supposed to have your essentially more of your fresher, like it has your fresher terpenes, but it also is supposed to have a better flavor profile for mixing
It's
it
almost like
into
a fresh
edibles.
hot beer.
Is it almost like it's better for cooking?
Yes, because
more
it gives you
complimentary?
because it gives you more flavor. It gives you more of a actual. It extracts more of the flavor, THC, and things in the first wash, other than actually extracting the chlorophyll and all of the fats, lipids, and
Is
things like
extracting
that.
the chlorophyll why they call the Green Dragon the Green Dragon?
Yes, sir. And then at that point, it then becomes more acrid. It becomes more bitter.
So what's the benefit of doing that necessarily?
You end up with a stronger product.
Oh, gotcha.
That's
Okay.
Green Dragon.
So you just fucking
You're
shake the
washing.
shit out of
You're
it.
washing everything out of it.
Okay, I got
Lipids, fats, solids, chlorophyll,
Okay.
everything,
You just
all of it.
strip it.
You're shredding you're making sure that when you're done, that pulp that you've used is going in the trash because there's nothing else left inside of it.
Gotcha. Okay. So you got the Golden Dragon, you got the Green Dragon, and then. So what is nitrous?
So, nitrous
Put that
is
in your
one.
car.
And then you smoke it.
If I'm being
turn it
100% honest, I have truly never cooked with nitrous. It is one I'm very interested to use.
I don't know anybody that has.
The nitrous style method.
Yeah.
So nitrous is so the whipped cream chargers.
yeah, whippets.
Yes, that's exactly it. So that's what's blowing up now, and that's
is.
one of the reasons I hate it, because it's sadly a really bad look for the cannabis industry.
yeah.
But with that being said, using a nitrous whipped cream charger, you can force infuse using nitrous.
Oh damn.
You can force infuse anything,
So, okay, for somebody,
almost anything. When I say
hypothetically speaking,
Yes,
if
sir.
somebody at home wanted to do this, what would be the step-by-step process in the minimal amount of instructions?
First you buy an S10 and then you drop it.
Until the frame is almost touching the ground.
Yeah. You have some wheelie bars in the back, and then you turn the nitrous on.
Fucking wheelie
You know what?
bars.
You need a spoiler too. You need
Not
a spoiler.
Not the
It doesn't
wheelie
do
bars.
anything, but it probably helps somewhere.
Yeah, but
you know?
no, where you get like the double spoiler, where you get like 2 of them on there.
You also need
stack
at
'em.
least 4 12s in the back.
Oh my god, that's fucking awesome.
Wait, I just went back to 1998.
I
I'm
know.
sorry.
So you say that, and I'm thinking like you're gonna take a whipped cream can, and you're going to, I guess you can't fucking.
I don't have
do
a
whippets.
clue. I don't have a clue. I knew some guys in high school. When I was in high school, they would do whippets.
I'm not
and,
been a
like,
whippet.
take
That
a
sounds
whiff of that, and they
terrible.
would just like fall asleep.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, 5 minutes later, they wake up and they're just out of it. But I don't think it was good for you.
Just so y'all can get an example, this is nitrous infused
All right.
green drink.
Okay.
So, essentially, once again, I am not 100% familiar with this. This is a new method
You're
for
100%
me.
more familiar than we are.
But I've seen it used a couple times, and I'm very excited to actually try it out. But essentially, if I understand correctly, you're using a nitrous oxide whipped cream dispenser to force infuse cannabinoids into liquor. A New York City bartender was the one who actually started this. His name's Don Lee, and he created a gorgeous transparent emerald booze that actually tasted really good.
Absinthe.
So with nitrous, you have most people think of a whipped cream charger. That is actually exactly what you would need. And you would take your flour and or concentrate, and you would decarb it beforehand. So you would heat it to roughly 224 degrees for about 10 minutes to be able to completely decarboxylate it. And then you add that in, and you add in your alcohol. So when I say Everclear, that's traditionally what most people would use. You do
Pure
not
grain.
have, you don't have to use Everclear. These recipes prove that. This one is a nitrous infused Blanco tequila.
Okay.
This one is a nitrous infused brandy. We have a nitrous infused gin. You can do whatever high proof or relatively, relative high proof
But do you
alcohol.
just take like your can of whipped cream and you just fucking spray it in there, or?
So you're adding both of these things to the container themselves, and then you actually charge it, and then you let it sit for 5 minutes to
By
settle.
charge, you mean literally let the gas just go out?
Yes, absolutely. You're literally just using that as a medium to essentially infuse your cannabis into your alcohol.
Maybe this is too much. I'm asking too much, but what about that actually like causes the infusion? What in nitrous causes it to infuse? Is it like a chemical reaction?
It is a chemical reaction. Essentially, from what I can understand, if I understand correctly, you put the cannabis mezcal, or you put the cannabis material and mezcal, or whatever whiskey, brandy, tequila, or gin you want to use, into the container with the canister of the whipped cream canister.
Right.
Screw on the head, charge with nitrous oxide according to the manufacturer's instructions.
Hold on, what manufacturer is instructing you
Exactly.
on how to infuse like weed with?
So I assume this is to the whipped cream
Okay,
instructions would be my guess.
okay, that got me.
And then you let the canister sit for 5 minutes. You vent out the pressurized gas, stir the liquid, and then let it sit for a minute until the gas boils off. And at this point, the liquor will be imbued with cannabis flavor. But it will not have developed much THC potency at this time. The next step, which is where you would do a double boiler method, that is where you're increasing your THC percentage because you're cooking off the excess alcohol.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
So at that point, it doesn't matter if you're putting it into a cocktail because you're obviously going to use it for other purposes, would be my guess. Or you just want it to be as strong as possible using that medium.
I got you.
So, yeah.
Okay. That is very interesting. That is not like a layman's or like a regular person's method
Not at all.
of wanting to infuse. There are much simpler methods.
Yes,
but that is interesting.
That's very highfalutin.
That is that's more than highfalutin.
That's very,
That's
very
like
much
Walter
so.
Whitefalutin.
Yes.
That is more than that, yes. Even
For
more.
sure.
Yeah.
So that essentially just gives you like your base, essentially a impatient person's method to infusing alcohol,
Gotcha.
I guess things like that.
Okay.
You have a glycerin cannabis tincture method, which to just, I guess, give you the
You take that if you're having a heart attack.
right
Glycerin.
Just to give you the base terms of it, it's vegetable glycerin. So you're using it's more of a sugar alternative.
So probably
Is
not
that
for
like
your
the honey
bartender.
method you were talking
Yes.
about? Okay.
So essentially, this one you wouldn't do with. You would be able to do this, and it would work as a tincture, but it would be sweet. And you could also use this in a liquid form. So if you wanted to infuse drinks, things like that, this would also work just the same as a alcohol tincture would
Okay.
without having to cook off.
And
the
you
alcohol.
also said you can use fats as well.
Yes,
like coconut
but you
oil.
can't use fats as a tincture. So I guess
Cannot
you
use
can't.
fats?
You cannot.
Okay.
Yeah, you cannot. Because fats don't actually work as a tincture method. The
Okay.
tincture method is where you would take a drop to 2 drops in the mouth underneath the tongue kind of thing, which is why I don't agree with the method of using Everclear, because
Yeah.
Everclear is so strong and high
Yeah.
proof, it burns.
Right.
So that's the way you consume this.
Right.
Just 2 drops. There's
You would
nothing
just
else.
literally, for people who don't smoke or really eat edibles, you would just take a couple drops in the mouth, underneath the tongue, in a glass of something. Maybe
So
even chase it with
just
something.
thinking ahead, like how long would it take to interact?
It being an alcohol, a soluble thing, it would probably be relatively immediate. It'd probably be within 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, because you think about it absorbing into your
That's what I was
bloodstream.
thinking.
Yeah.
Like, just hit you hard, right? Like, with that.
It's essentially
If you take a shot, if you take
Yes.
a shot of Everclear, within 5 minutes, you're feeling it
right.
for sure.
So it's essentially the one step away from RSO, which is Rick Simpson oil, which is a old school method of
I know
taking.
Rex Chapman. Same thing.
So it's an old school method
Homer
of taking
Simpson, is that
Everclear extractions, and then you double boil it to the point where there's no alcohol left, and what's left is the concentrated gooey plant matter, essentially. And that method was introduced by Rick Simpson to give to people in what's like a syringe, like a blunt tip syringe. You would actually eat it, the right size
Little
amount,
dropper.
and it would give you the same effects that, most people would need for cannabis patients.
Okay.
So that's where it really started. People who need high dose edibles.
Quick.
Yes,
Without being able to
quick.
smoke or
can't
something.
smoke, can't eat. Yes. So cannabis or cancer patients are the main person you'd probably see.
Okay.
Use something like that.
Probably a lot of people that could benefit from like a hospice into life kind
Yes,
of
sir.
thing, Think
Absolutely.
about that.
So that's why tinctures are such a big thing for people, because you can truly use it right then and there. It's pretty much immediate.
It is just wild how many uses there are for this and how many methods to get that into your system, different
I agree.
ways.
We were kind of all over the place, but
We
we,
were,
talked about
still,
the Golden Dragon, which is probably my favorite. And it
Yes.
sounds like the most kind of like, well, it's like the most approachable, but it sounds like it's the fairest way to do it, especially if you're trying to cook with cannabis,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, other than your fats, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. That's what most people are, would
Want.
assume. Yeah, I was gonna say.
And then you got the Green Dragon, which is like the Golden Dragon on fucking steroids.
Yep.
And then we talked about doing like the honey method, the sweet method with the glycerin.
Yes.
And then the nitrous, which is fucking way out there. And the fats, which I'm still kind of confused about, like that you can actually use that to infuse, but it's not a tincture.
Yes.
But I guess that's an option.
So I guess the biggest way to describe that is THC. Cannabinoids are fat soluble. Cannabis is fat soluble,
Right.
Instead of being water soluble, obviously, like
it
I
is
said
an oil,
before,
yeah.
right? It is an oil. So the trichomes themselves float in water, but they're absorbed into fat.
Right.
So if you were to take a nug, chop it, and cook it with bacon, that bacon fat in that pan
Would just absorb some of the THC from the nug, and then
right. You have
even
cannabis,
vice versa, really.
Right. So you then are left with cannabis infused bacon fat.
Okay.
So that is the main, but it's also
I see. Okay, so that's actually an even more basic way,
right.
honestly. When
But
you
it's
put it
also
that way.
your most.
I see.
It's
I
your
got
most
you.
efficient infusion method.
I got
is the
you.
best way to
Okay.
describe
I think I was thinking of it differently when you first explained it, but that
Yes.
actually is very simple.
Yeah, if you ask any chef or anybody who's
just heard
ever
bacon, I
truly,
like bacon.
that's just one that most people
Yeah.
would think of. It's like, oh yeah, bacon, sure, I want that. But if you think of cannabis itself, if you know anybody who actually truly cooks with cannabis, it is normally coconut oil, and it's normally unrefined coconut oil, because that is the most common infusion.
I think the main times I've heard people cooking with cannabis has been like brownies. I always
Yep.
heard that.
Yep.
So I guess that's oil, like you
Yes.
just fat soluble into that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's really normally that is the most traditional way that
That's
you'll
probably
find.
the most I've ever heard, like pot
Yes.
brownies. People would say.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So my thing is, I'm looking to venture out well beyond.
Oh, for sure. No,
what
no,
most people think of.
I'm just hearing saying
For
what
sure.
I'm hearing,
No,
but
for sure.
You're way above that.
But if you think of anybody who's like, hey, you know, I want like a brownie, or I want a, you know, like a lollipop or some kind of thing like that. I'm thinking of, you know, what about ramen? What about having, you know, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich cookie? Or, you know, like what about having a, you know, like an infused
Peanut butter
cocktail?
jelly sandwich cookie. Do you have any right now?
You're actually getting me really hungry.
Really hungry.
All I've had some terpenes, but I'm very hungry.
But no,
Terpenes were good too, by the way.
They were very good. The orange creamsicle, yeah.
But no, I'm definitely looking to do well beyond the normal average thing. You know, chicken wings, that kind of thing. Like, you know, any kind of like.
Well, the hot sauce in
yeah.
with it, right? Like, I mean, blend that in with, like, because I guess traditional wing sauce has butter in it.
Yes. So
it'd be-
absolutely.
yeah,
That would
yeah.
be, but that can be something for sure.
Well, you
for
know what
sure.
we should do? We should actually talk about your top 5 recipes, and let's do a little bit more on this. This was going to be like a 2-part episode. I don't know if this
That'd
should
be
be like a
4,
6-part episode. Maybe we'll do like an extended cut and then like an abbreviated cut for like the normal releases. So, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back with Pierre, and we're going to talk about some actual recipes using some of his infusion methods that we discussed here. So until then, we'll see you on the next one.